Hey solopreneurs, so today I'm going to be teaching you how to develop SOPs for your business. SOPs are basically just a document that outlines how we do things in our business, but they're more than that. They're a long-term asset that allow you to repurpose parts of your business into assets that you can sell, or that allow you to delegate parts of your business to team members and scale. And they're a way to basically manage your business without overwhelm. They're really the only way that you're going to scale a business to 6 figures and beyond by yourself without just getting totally burnt out. So if you're running a solo business, the only way you're going to scale is by producing more output. Now, you could just work harder to produce more. This is what most people do. They just work more hours, you work longer, you work harder to produce more, to earn more, and so on. And the issue with that, obviously, is that if you are trying to scale the wrong things before you have your foundations optimized, you're always going to be working harder. You're always going to be working longer. You're always just going to be working more to produce more results. You're basically trying to scale and scaling the wrong things before you have the foundations in place. We want to grow a lifestyle business without the burnout. That's why we need to get the foundations right before we systemize them. So how do we produce more output without just working harder, longer, more? Well, we need to basically multiply the time that we do have. As a solopreneur, time is your most valuable asset. There is only one of you. We all have the same amount of time in the day. You have to find a way to make more of your time and achieve the same result as you were before, but by doing less. So the way that we do this is through our systems. I have a system for building systems. It's kind of like a little mantra that I like to repeat to myself. And it goes a bit like this. It's basically document, systemize, eliminate, optimize, template, automate, and delegate. And delegate is always the last thing because I don't like to scale the overheads of my business if I can help it. So I always will do all of those things first before I resort to delegating or hiring. But of course, you can't delegate unless you've got a process to delegate. You can't have a process without a system in place, and you can't optimize the system unless you know what that system looks like. It sounds pretty simple. Simple doesn't mean easy. So today I'm basically going to walk you through my whole process of how I systemize Design Hero, which is my multi-6-figure agency. I run it on a 3-day work week by using these systems. I'm going to walk you through exactly how to systemize and optimize your own freelance or solo business in baby steps, and how to organize it all in one place, one system, so you can manage multiple projects at one time without just getting totally overwhelmed, and scale your business to the point where you're ready to either scale it by yourself or to delegate for a team.
Client management, project management, like daily tasks and everything. And I started writing my SOPs, but there's like a one line.
Because if you sit down and try to write it off the top of your head, you're going to just hit a blank and be like,
yeah,
I don't even know my process. You probably run through it automatically without thinking about it.
Yeah.
Once you actually have a project management in place with stages, you go, oh, there's my process, because you're actually running through on a real project, reverse engineer that. Firstly, I know you're using Notion. At the end of the day, the tools are kind of agnostic. Use what you think is most useful. But what I would say is that I personally prefer ClickUp, because what I find is Notion is a good note-taking tool. But in terms of project management, I generally find ClickUp superior. It just has more features in terms of what you can do in it. And it also has more automation built in, which I usually find handy. I personally prefer to have it all in one space. I've just written a blog post about it, which is about my second brain in ClickUp, which I can share with you after this, which is and there's a YouTube video on there with a tour of my ClickUp. So I have all sorts of things written for Design Hero to do with the brand, marketing, how to create email success stories and case studies, my link building, all that kind of stuff is in there. Pain points from my customers, all sorts of stuff is in there. But really the ones that you'll be interested in at the moment, or where you'll start, will be to do with how you fulfill projects. At this point, I'm going to jump back into my mantra: document, eliminate, optimize, systemize, automate, delegate. This is the same process that I run through for every system in my business, regardless of whether it's fulfillment, whether it's hiring, whether it's lead gen. It's the same thing for every system in your business. And once you've mastered these parts, you can use this to scale any part of your business. And this is the process that I go through. So the first one will be document. It all starts with writing down your process. This is not just for projects. As I said, it applies to any part of your business. I basically just start by bullet pointing my process step by step. Very fast and dirty. Don't overthink it. Just bullet points of what you do in different phases. Once you've got those overall phases, for a branding project, for example, there might be, questionnaire, brand mood board, brand concepts, logo design, brand refinement of those concepts, a brand package, and the final pitch to the client. For each of those phases, of course, there's going to be smaller steps in there. So I take those phases and again break down those bullet points into smaller bullet points, which turns into a checklist. And that's basically enough for you to get started. That is your SOPs in a document, and it can be written in anything. You could use a Word document if you wanted to start with. But As you scale, your business is going to grow in complexity. You're probably going to start taking on multiple projects. So you will need to systemize this in some kind of software or app in order to manage all these projects in one go. This basically gives you an outline or a map of your process so that you can start to look at it with fresh eyes, with perspective, and start to trim it, start to optimize it, start to template it, start to automate it. But first, the first step of optimizing any process would be eliminate. The 80-20 rule basically states that most of the stuff you do is not really necessary, and you would be amazed at the amount of stuff that you can eliminate from a process while making literally no difference to the outcome. There's some questions I like to ask myself to tease this out. Do I really need to be doing this? Does it improve the end result, or is it just something I'm doing because I've always done it, or because everyone else is doing it? If I can achieve the same result without doing it, I remove it. If I can skip the step entirely without any difference, I'll skip it. And if I can ignore it and nothing bad happens, I remove it. So the next step is optimization. So, we're working through our bullet point list and just looking at how we do things with fresh eyes. And, just because everyone's doing it one way doesn't mean that you have to. Ask yourself what you can do differently. Are there apps or systems that you could use to replace things that you're doing just now? When I found that most clients aren't able to interpret a mock-up on Figma. They just don't understand it unless they see it in their browser. So basically what I started doing was skip the mock-up stage and move straight to the build on Elementor and present them with basically a draft of a live site. It saves a huge amount of time doing the mock-up and then rebuilding on Elementor. You just skip the mock-up, build it straight in Elementor. Shaves a huge amount of time off your project. Templates. Some people see templates as a dirty word because they're thinking you're stealing designs. Templates basically are essential to save time. If you are repeating the same thing more than once for every project, you should have a template for it. The perfect example of this would be emails. I have a whole blog article about why you're emailing all wrong. You can check it out on the site, and there is also 25 templates in there for solopreneurs that help save me time every day. These are email templates for every part of my business, from client comms, project fulfillment, sales emails, requesting reviews, support tickets. Basically, if you're writing the same email more than once for every project, which you will be writing the same things every time, you should have a template for it rather than writing from scratch every time. The next step would be automate. If you have systemized your process, you've optimized it, you've used templates where you can, then you've got an optimized process and it's time to start automating the things that you can. So start by asking yourself, does this step require human intuition? Does it require fuzzy logic? If it has a series of logical steps that are sort of if-then statements, you can usually replace that with an automation. There are dozens of automations you can introduce across your business to save time using various apps like Zapier, or ClickUp itself has a very robust automation suite. And the last one, my last resort, is Delegate. Basically, if I've been through all the steps above and I'm not able to automate something, then I will usually delegate it to either a member of my team, a VA. You can outsource it. You can hire a full-time team member. Know your value of your time. If the value of your time is on average £100 an hour, and you have, for example, social posts takes you an hour to do your social posts, and you can pay someone to do your social posts for £25 an hour, you should be paying someone to do your social posts and spending that hour on earning another £100. It's just basic math. This, of course, depends on you having a good hourly rate, which depends on your leverage. The way to build leverage and increase your hourly rate is to learn valuable skills and stack them to earn more money quicker. And of course, to systemize your process so that you can achieve the same result in less time, in which case you might have a lower hourly rate, but you don't need to put in as many hours to achieve the same result as other freelancers. And the last step is review and repeat, sort of a bonus step. Every 6 months or so, I review all my systems. As you grow, your systems will break and you'll need to review them, update them, optimize them, and always go back and update your SOPs, because even if you work by yourself, writing down your SOPs will help you to make sense of your process and to optimize your process by distilling that thought into writing. So let's look at this in a real world example on my own ClickUp. And you'll notice it's almost like it is basically like a little course. We're talking about, collecting dots of information, connecting ideas. It's not just a physical, it's not just a list of actions. It's also about why and how I think. But basically what I've done is I've gone through each step by step of what I do, and I've sort of written the process, the goals, the deliverables, and some examples. And basically, I've done that so that a freelancer can come in and look through this and basically have a full course on designing how I design a brand, my thinking, my thought process from start to finish. If I go to web design, there's a step-by-step process of, all the things that I do at each stage of building a website. And what this turns into is essentially a template that you can use for each project. So for example, if I go to this is what the template I use for any new project. What I have is, first along the top, you'll see there's links to resources. So this is all the tasks I'm working on for that project. I have a timeline that I can share with the client so they can see, where they are. There's login docs, with any logins that I need for the project. There's an onboarding questionnaire. There's a Google Doc with their content for the website. And there's a shared folder for any files that they want to share with me. And under each task, for example, see, I've got that for every stage of the process. Design a homepage. There'll be a list of to-dos here for the freelancer with a brief. Under the website setup, when they're actually setting up the build, there's a list of a checklist to run through. And I add to this and edit it all the time. If there's something that I'm no longer doing, I just delete it. If there's something that, I've added into my checklist, I'll go and add it to the template. And basically what happens is that I can give this to a freelancer and they just run their way through it one by one. And if they get stuck, they can ask me about it. They can tag me in and ask me how to do something. What you'll find is you'll have to just set up a project and do it as you do it in real life. And then once you've figured out how you do it, you can go back to your SOPs and update them to say what your process actually was, and write about it. And then that's when you can start to refine it, because you can look at the step-by-step things you're doing and say, right, I don't need to do that. I could replace that with a loom. I could replace that with an automation. I could send them a questionnaire, which would save a lot of emails back and forth, all that kind of stuff to optimize the process. Actually, the best way to do this is wait until you hire someone to do the job and then write the instructions for them, because you'll find that's the best way for you to figure out how to write them. It's quite often hard to write unless you're actually doing it in a real context. So wouldn't overthink it too much. You will adapt and update these over time, and it's not just a resource for your team. What I find is writing the SOPs helps me to organize my thoughts, and not only that, it's a resource. So again, just as an example, I'll share this one more time. I've actually recorded videos because I was going to turn this into a course. So I have all sorts of things written for Design Hero to do with the brand, marketing, how to create email success stories and case studies, my link building, all that kind of stuff is in there. Pain points from my customers. I refer to this all the time. If I go to hire someone new, I go through these and I'll refer to my notes. I can copy and paste the questions into the Upwork job project. You're building resources that you're going to use all the time in your own business, basically. So guys, I hope that was helpful. Quite a lengthy video going through how I generate my SOPs and a system for managing a solo business as you scale. Eventually, I know they're kind of boring, but I hope eventually you'll realize that your SOPs are your most valuable asset. They're going to help you multiply your outputs and build a business with leverage and freedom. They're not just a set of instructions for a team. Even if you work alone, what you're doing here is you're capturing your unique way of thinking, your personal brand, in documents and assets that you can reuse, repurpose, refer to. You can use them to train your team. You can sell them as digital products. You can produce your own multiple assets from them. What used to take me days now takes me hours, because I have all of those intermediate packets stored in my SOPs. So I really encourage you to start writing them. I hope this helps. It will help you grow a business without the burnout. It will help you with peace of mind. If you like this video and you enjoyed it, don't forget to leave me a like. It really helps me grow, and really appreciate it, guys. Thanks.